I'm here with a beautiful patch of giant looking miner's lettuce. This is Siberian miner's lettuce. And the way that we know that is that it has two leaves that come out almost like an infinity symbol or butterfly wings, whatever you want to call it. And it's in flower right now. Almost all wild edibles are better before they flower because the stems and such tend to have less fiber. And in fact, check that tendon out. That's going to have a lot of fiber in it at this age, but still edible and quite tasty. And this plant is a really good opportunity to talk about oxalic acid. There's a lot of edible plants that have oxalic acid in them, and they tend to taste pretty sour when you eat them. So this particular one will even kind of make the back of your throat kind of tingle or get a little sore, especially if you eat too much. This particular plant does have a lot of oxalic acid in it. And the other day I actually ate too much and had my kidneys hurt a little bit, which is a good reminder of what oxalic acid does, which is basically like stab your kidneys as it gets processed through, and so it can irritate them quite a bit. In large enough amounts, oxalic acid can actually kill you. So you wouldn't want to like make pesto out of this particular plant, right? This is a smaller amount. So it's edible raw, but you'd want to like put a little bit in your salad and maybe have some other ingredients in there as well. This plant is the second member. So we also have common miner's lettuce, and common miner's lettuce has less oxalic acid in them, and they have beautiful little cups, and hopefully I'll make a video about that separately at some point. These ones like to grow in the forest understory in Washington, so that's where you'll find them mostly. They especially love maple trees and big leaf maples, and indeed I'm seeing some of those above our heads. And they have these beautiful red stem starts here, and they kind of all the stems come out of a single point, and they tend to be red down there. So also I'm noticing that the stems have no hair at all, and neither do the flower buds. I see no hair on this plant whatsoever. So hair can be a really good indicator on species. And to prove our point on that, chickweed actually, which is a relative, and it indeed, like the flower morphology is a little bit similar. Chickweed doesn't have a lot of hair, but it does have hair on the flower buds. And interestingly enough, chickweed does not have oxalic acid. I'm sure it has a little bit, but it doesn't have enough to be a problem. So you could make pesto out of chickweed and not out of this guy. One other wild edible that I want to talk about, chickweed, by the way, one of my favorites, is Nipplewort. So it's May right now, early May. Late April, early May is like the best time for wild greens because everything is new growth. Things haven't had a chance to get fibrous or like weird tasting. Things are just tender. And that is true of Nipplewort as well. And we already talked about hair. This one's kind of hairy. It's kind of funny that it's hairy. It's called Nipplewort. This plant is in the sunflower family, so its flowers are going to look a lot like dandelion flowers, except very small. And it has these interesting lobes going on for it. The scientific name on this one is Lapsana communis. And Nipplewort is edible, and it does not have oxalic acid in it, so you can actually eat a fair amount of it. And you can eat it raw, you can eat it cooked. Chickweed and miner's lettuce I wouldn't cook because they get kind of weird and squidgy. This one cooks well. It's just not like super exciting, so people don't talk about eating it a lot, but it's also not offensive. It just tastes like leaf. So there's a lot of wild greens that you kind of would mix up with whatever wild greens of the season, with maybe like you stir fry it with some garlic and some oil. And this is what I would do with this particular one. Use it as kind of what we would call a pot herb. So you could also put it in a pesto or a green dressing or your green smoothie or whatever. So that's Nipplewort. Now's the perfect time to harvest it because it's not too bitter. The sunflower family plants will get more bitter as the season progresses, just like dandelion does. This one's actually less bitter than dandelion, which is nice. It's just a little hairy, so eating it raw is kind of weird. But that's Nipplewort, and all three of the plants that I just talked about are all growing just right here. The soil's really soft. It's got a lot of leaf duff in it. It's kind of disturbed, this area, so definitely a place for wild greens. Enjoy eating!